Hey everybody, it's Globonaut. I'm back with another Kerbal Space Program video, as you can see. There's going to be another ballistic capture one, because I just had a really good attempt here, and I wanted to show my learnings, and then maybe it'll help you guys pull this off as well, because my last one was quite messy, and I had to do a lot of manoeuvres that sort of wasted fuel if I had just planned it a bit better. And this one, I'm really happy with the result. It's going to start off the same, and if you're not aware how this works, so in real life, all gravitational bodies pull on each other at once, right? But with Kerbal Space Program, the way it's coded is you only deal with one gravitational body at a time. So if you're in orbit of Kerbin, the moon has no effect on your orbit. Whereas in this, it is going to have an effect on your orbit. This lets you do some pretty wacky stuff that real spacecraft do, such as the ballistic capture. A few real satellites have used this because it's a fuel efficient way to get to the moon. And you'll see it's not a traditional capture that you would do in normal Kerbal Space Program. You actually bring your orbit further out than the moon's trajectory, right to the boundary of where Earth's sphere of influence is, and then you're going to let the sun pull your orbit round, almost as if you were firing your engine. And that brings your perigee up to where the moon's going to be, and this lets you get captured into its orbit using way less fuel than you would normally. If you're lucky, you can do it without doing a single capture burn, but you have to be very lucky and very skilled to do that. I was quite lucky and managed to get a very minimal capture burn with this one. You can see we've moved all the way up. Now we're going to do a burn here to just adjust our inclination, because of course with multiple bodies pulling on the spacecraft, the inclination is going to be sort of a bit all over the place, so we're just making sure it's back in line with the moon's orbit. I'm making those adjustments now. And then when I was doing these course corrections to get this capture, I noticed this flower-shaped orbit around the moon. And I actually found this was a really good way to get a minimal capture burn. So you can see I've sort of got, it comes round, and it goes up, and it creates this almost like a flower shape with petals of a flower. That's how I like to imagine it. So I'm just mucking around here, seeing what works. And I eventually settle on this because it looks quite nice, and I can adjust the capture at each apoapsis and periapsis if I need to, and that just makes the whole capture process a lot easier. So I'm going to go for this, and actually I use my RCS to do most of the work here, so my main engine gets to save all the fuel that's in there, because they're such small burns. Look, 13 meters per second for the next burn, so reaction control system is more than enough for that. I turn it up a little bit, then I'm like, oh, it's not enough, use the engine for 4 meters per second of it, realise I can just turn it up all the way up again, and the RCS does all the work, right? Because it's only 13 meters per second. There's no reason to use my main engine, and that just saves me even more fuel that I could use for the rest of the mission. So you can see it's really tempting to go for this, because it is such a good way of saving fuel if you just want a lunar orbit. You can see I'm just getting it right, because with Principia it's hard to get your planned burns accurate, especially with situations where you're on the boundaries of gravitational objects. It's always a bit finicky. But here we are, entering a Lagrange point, and then we're going to use that to slow our velocity and just get us captured into the orbit that we want. You can see I've almost got that petal shape right. So we come round onto the first petal, we just bring it round, we're in orbit of the moon now, and we go round onto the second petal now. And this is where I start to make my final adjustments. I sort of muck around for a little bit with raising and lowering the periapsis, but then I realise if I just go to the periapsis and do a retrograde burn, that's going to be a nice capture as well, actually. So I'm just fiddling around here, seeing if there's anything else. You know, it's good to experiment with this kind of stuff, but none of this seems to work very well until I get to the burn that I actually want, where I decide to try it. Here we are at the periapsis, and look at that, a nice orbit with a 48 meter per second capture burn, which is so much less. Normally you'd be looking at 200 or 300 meters per second roughly, and I've done what, a 13, maybe a 20 meters per second one, and then another 48, not even 100, or barely over 100 if you're being a bit more inefficient. But yeah, the savings are crazy, and look, lovely orbit there, really nice and rotund like we like it. Excellent stuff, really happy with that. So look out for that flower shape when you're doing your course corrections. I found that was the best way to do it. Really, really handy handy visual cue there. But I hope that was useful for you, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. Let me know if you managed to pull this off yourself, and show me the results if you can. See you later, guys.